Where do we go when we sleep? What are dreams but echoes of trauma that we register beneath the black stillness of nothing? We are nothing. Sinister Narratives presents
Documenting the Devil. In the twilight hours of a forsaken town, where shadows clung to the cobblestone streets like wraiths of the damned, a priest named Father Lucius sought to unmask the veil that concealed the horrors of the supernatural. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with trepidation, he embarked upon a sinister quest that would plunge him into the abyss of the unknown. Father Lucius was a man of faith, his convictions unwavering in the face of darkness, but even the stoutest faith wavered when confronted with the sinister entity that had taken root in the form of a child named Isabella. The demon's malevolent presence was palpable, its eyes void of humanity, a soulless abyss that stared through the facade of innocence. Haunted by the desperate pleas of Isabella's tormented family, Father Lucius resolved to summon the talents of an outsider, a photographer named Elias, whose lack of belief in the divine granted him a certain objectivity. Elias, a staunch atheist with a keen eye and a penchant for capturing the unseen, was both intrigued and apprehensive at the prospect of confronting the ethereal. Their collaboration was forged with a grim purpose: to document the possession that held Isabella in its insidious grip. With Elias's camera as their conduit, they embarked on a journey that would pierce the veils of reality and plunge them into the abyss of the diabolical. Elias's lens captured images that defied explanation, each photograph a chilling testament to the demon's control. Isabella's once innocent gaze was replaced by a sinister glare, her features contorting into a visage of otherworldly malice. Shadows seemed to writhe around her, tendrils of darkness that clung to her form like a shroud. As the days turned to nights, Father Lucius and Elias delved deeper into the heart of the macabre. The priest's faith wavered as he witnessed the demon's malevolent power, while Elias's skepticism crumbled under the weight of the evidence before him. The veil between the realms of the living and the damned grew thin, and the boundaries of their reality began to blur. One fateful night, as the moon hung low in the heavens and the town lay cloaked in an eerie silence, Father Lucius and Elias ventured into the heart of the demon's lair, a dilapidated manor that seemed to pulse with an unholy energy. The air was thick with dread, a tangible force that clawed at their very souls. Isabella's presence was a ghostly whisper, her voice a haunting echo that reverberated through the corridors. The demon's malevolent laughter danced on the edge of their senses, a chilling symphony that filled the manor with a sense of impending doom. The walls seemed to pulse with a sinister life of their own, as though they were witnesses to the maleficence that had unfolded within their confines. Elias's camera clicked incessantly, capturing the demon's essence in each frame. The photographs were a mosaic of horror, a gallery of the macabre that captured the very essence of evil. But as they ventured deeper into the manor, the walls themselves seemed to writhe, their surfaces contorting and shifting as though the very fabric of reality was unraveling. And then, in a room shrouded in darkness, they found her, Isabella, her form convulsing as though a storm raged within her. The demon's presence was a palpable force, a malevolent energy that seemed to warp the very air around them. Father Lucius raised a crucifix, his voice trembling as he invoked the divine, but the demon's laughter echoed through the room, a mocking gesture that pierced through their defenses. Isabella's voice, no longer her own, spoke in a chorus of chilling whispers, a symphony of torment and despair, and then, in a voice that seemed to emanate from the depths of hell itself, the demon spoke. "You cannot banish me, priest," it hissed, the words laced with a sadistic glee. "I am woven into the fabric of her soul, an eternal darkness that cannot be exorcised." Father Lucius's resolve wavered, his faith shaken by the certainty of the demon's words. Elias's camera clicked, capturing the moment with a sense of grim finality. But then, as the demon's laughter filled the room, a blinding light erupted from Isabella's form, engulfing them in its brilliance. When the light receded, they found themselves standing in the dilapidated manor, but the walls were no longer shifting and contorting. The demon's presence had dissipated, leaving only an eerie stillness in its wake. Isabella lay on the ground, her form still, her eyes vacant. As Father Lucius and Elias approached, a new horror unfurled before them. Their own bodies lay lifeless on the ground, their souls having been ensnared by the demon's malevolent trap. Isabella's body twitched, her lips curling into a sinister grin as she rose from the ground. The demon's laughter filled the air once more, a chorus of triumph and malice. And then, with a voice that seemed to echo through the very depths of their souls, Isabella spoke. "Welcome to my domain," she hissed, her eyes gleaming with an unholy light. The room seemed to shift, the walls closing in around them as they realized the truth. They were trapped within Isabella's nightmare, a realm of her creation where the boundaries of reality and illusion were indistinguishable. The demons' victory was complete, their souls ensnared in a never-ending cycle of torment and despair, and as the room continued to shrink, the walls closing in on them with a relentless force, Father Lucius and Elias realized the chilling truth. They were now prisoners of the demons' malevolent design, their souls forever bound to the nightmare that had become their reality. Within the suffocating confines of Isabella's nightmare realm, Father Lucius and Elias struggled against the claustrophobic grasp of her malevolent design. The walls closed in around them, a chilling reminder of their entrapment within the boundaries of a twisted reality. But even as despair threatened to consume them, a spark of determination ignited within their hearts. Father Lucius's faith, once unyielding, had been shattered by the malevolent power of the demon. But in the face of the darkness that surrounded them, a glimmer of resilience burned within him. He clung to his devotion, his very essence a beacon of hope in a realm steeped in despair. Elias, on the other hand, had always been a man of skepticism, his atheism shielding him from the horrors that plagued Father Lucius. Yet the nightmares he had witnessed within Isabella's realm had shattered the foundation of his disbelief. As he and Father Lucius navigated the labyrinthine corridors of her nightmare, Elias found himself grappling with the reality of the supernatural. Their journey was a harrowing one, each step a battle against the malevolent forces that sought to keep them ensnared. Isabella's laughter echoed through the corridors, a constant reminder of the demon's power. But as they delved deeper into the heart of her nightmare, a sense of purpose burned within them to escape the grasp of the demon's design and free themselves from her nightmarish realm. And then, amidst the shifting shadows, they found it. A portal, a gateway that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light. With a shared determination, they stepped through, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. As they emerged on the other side, they found themselves in a place that bore a resemblance to the world they had known, yet with an undeniable sense of disquiet. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the landscape. But the light held a strange quality, as though it emanated from an unknown source. Father Lucius and Elias exchanged a wary glance, their senses on high alert as they realized that they had emerged from one nightmare only to confront another. As they ventured further, their footsteps echoing through the desolate landscape, a sense of unease settled over them. The air was heavy with a palpable silence, broken only by the distant whisper of wind. Their surroundings seemed to shift, as though the very fabric of reality was unstable, and then Elias stumbled, his vision clouding over as though a veil had been drawn across his eyes. Panic clawed at his chest as he realized that his sight was slipping away, his world descending into darkness. Desperation surged within him, his hands reaching out in a futile attempt to grasp onto the threads of reality. Father Lucius rushed to Elias's side, his voice a mixture of concern and urgency. "What's happening, Elias?" Elias's voice trembled as he spoke, his words tinged with a newfound vulnerability. "I can't see. I've lost my sight." The realization hung heavy in the air, a cruel twist of fate that seemed to mock their escape from Isabella's nightmare. Father Lucius's heart ached with a mixture of sympathy and despair as he grappled with the implications of Elias's blindness. But their respite was short-lived, as the landscape before them seemed to shift once more. The ground beneath their feet trembled, a sinister force stirring beneath the surface. And then, from the depths of the earth, a chorus of anguished whispers emerged, a haunting symphony that sent shivers down their spines. Father Lucius's faith, already weakened by the demon's malevolence, wavered as the voices grew louder, their words a chorus of despair and desolation. The ground cracked beneath them, the landscape contorting as though reality itself was being torn asunder. And then amidst the chaos, a voice emerged, a voice that was neither human nor demonic, but something altogether more ancient and insidious. It whispered through the air, its words a chilling melody that resonated within their very souls. "Welcome to the echoes," the voice murmured, its words laden with an ominous weight. The world around them shifted, morphing into a distorted reflection of their reality. Shadows danced with a life of their own, and the landscape seemed to writhe and twist as though it were alive. Father Lucius and Elias stood at the precipice of an unknown abyss, a realm where the boundaries of reality and nightmare had dissolved. As the echoes of desolation surrounded them, a chilling realization settled over them. They were not alone. Figures emerged from the shadows, their forms twisted and contorted by the malevolent force that surrounded them. Eyes gleamed with a malevolent light, and voices whispered through the air, a cacophony of torment and despair. Elias's blindness had stripped him of his sight, but in this nightmarish realm he perceived a different kind of vision, a vision of the darkness that had ensnared them. Father Lucius's faith had faltered, shattered by the horrors they had witnessed, and now he stood on the precipice of a void that threatened to consume him. As the echoes of desolation whispered through the air, Father Lucius and Elias faced a new reality, a reality that defied explanation and embraced the unknown. The path before them was fraught with uncertainty, their fates bound by a malevolent force that sought to tear them apart. And as they stood on the brink of an abyss that held the promise of despair, their voices united in a desperate plea, a plea for salvation, for redemption, for escape from the clutches of the echoes that sought to ensnare them. In the bleak realm of the echoes, where reality and nightmare converged, Elias stood at a crossroads. His blindness had granted him a new form of perception, a vision of the darkness that encroached upon their souls. But as the echoes of desolation whispered their tempting promises, he found himself teetering on the edge of a precipice. The voice that had emerged from the depths of the abyss spoke to him in hushed tones, its words laced with promises of restored sight and power beyond imagining. It offered him a deal, a pact with the devil himself, a chance to regain his eyesight in exchange for his allegiance. Elias's heart pounded in his chest as he grappled with the choice before him. The allure of sight, the prospect of casting aside the darkness that had plagued him, was a seductive temptation, and yet he knew that the price of such power would be steep, that his very soul would become ensnared in the devil's web. As Father Lucius watched, torn between desperation and hope, Elias made his decision. He whispered his agreement to the devil's offer, his voice carrying the weight of his choice, and in that moment, a sinister energy surged through Elias, a malevolent force that seemed to consume him from within. The transformation was swift and agonizing, Elias's form contorting as the devil's influence took hold. His eyes, once shrouded in darkness, gleamed with an unholy light, a reflection of the malevolent power that now flowed through him. And as he turned to face Father Lucius, his voice was a chilling echo of the darkness that had possessed him. Father Lucius's heart shattered as he gazed upon his friend, a sense of grief and despair washing over him. Elias was no longer the man he had known, but a vessel for the devil's malevolence. The priest's faith had been tested to its limits, and now he faced a choice that would determine the fate of them both. With a heavy heart, Father Lucius raised the crucifix, his voice trembling as he invoked the divine. But Elias's laughter echoed through the air, a haunting symphony that seemed to pierce through the priest's defenses. The demon's influence had become a torrent, its power surpassing anything Father Lucius had ever encountered. "Your faith is meaningless here," Elias sneered, his voice a mixture of mockery and malice. "I am no longer bound by the constraints of your beliefs." Father Lucius's resolve wavered, his faith tested to its very core. The demon's power was a force beyond his comprehension, its malevolence an insurmountable obstacle. And yet he knew that he could not stand idly by as Elias was consumed by darkness. With a determined step, Father Lucius approached Elias, his voice a mixture of grief and resolve. "I will not let the demon claim your soul, Elias. I will fight for you, no matter the cost." But Elias's laughter filled the air, a chorus of darkness that seemed to reverberate through the very fabric of their reality. The demon's influence had twisted his thoughts, his emotions, until he was a mere puppet in its malevolent game. "You cannot save me, priest," Elias taunted, his voice a chilling echo that seemed to wrap around Father Lucius's very soul. And so, with a heavy heart and a sense of grim determination, Father Lucius began the exorcism. His words were a plea for salvation, for redemption, as he sought to cast out the demon's influence and free Elias from its grip. But the battle was a fierce one, a struggle between the forces of light and darkness that raged within Elias's very being. The room was a symphony of chaos, a cacophony of sound and energy that surged around them. Father Lucius's faith was a beacon of hope, a guiding light that seemed to pierce through the darkness, but the demon's power was unrelenting, its malevolence a force that sought to overpower them both. As the battle raged on, Elias's form contorted, his voice a mixture of agony and rage. The demon fought to maintain its hold, to resist the priest's efforts to free Elias from its grip. But Father Lucius's faith was unyielding, his words a testament to his unwavering resolve. And then